Hi, welcome to Starlight Talks. I'm here
Yes.
this week with Silas Howard. We're going to be talking about authentic representation. So I'm going to talk about my usual intro. Go to artism.com and sign up for all of our new stuff. I have a workshop coming up that I'm doing with Danny Rady. We're doing what we wish our parents did differently for the third or fourth time, I think. So I'm really excited. If you guys haven't come to that, it's been such a really amazing experience meeting parents and those on the spectrum and talking about my story and Danny's story and how it's a very universal story and seeing these parents and their children connect for the first time. It's been overwhelming. So thank you all who have come to the past workshops. And it's like, I know it's kind of a negative clickbaity title, but it's a very positive workshop. And all of our parents know everything we're going to talk about, and they share those stories as well. So it's not hating on our parents. We also have a new support group. Last night I hosted my first women's autism support group that went so well. Thank you for everyone that came to that. I'm doing another one next month. And of course, we have our adult support group and our parent coffee. And I believe for our socials this month, we're doing bowling or movie night. I'm blanking which one is this month. And then our pizza and game night. So I believe I covered everything. So click on that calendar and then come back next week because I'm back doing Starlight Talks every week. Took a break for the holidays. But this is a good one. Hi, Haley. Thank you for joining. Yeah, Haley, thank you for sending me that you put Starlight Talks on your calendar. That is so cool. I haven't seen that before. I know my grandma has like a sticky note on her wall that says 7 o'clock on Wednesday. Chloe has her live stream, but like that's my grandma. So that's cool that other people are doing that. Yeah. Speaking of like new background, I moved house. I am living independently, so that's cool. Yeah, so Silas Howard is here this week. And if you don't know who Silas Howard is, I put a link to his website in the description. He's a wonderful director who's done movies, television. I've written some of those titles in the description. And we're going to talk about authentic representation, which, if you don't know what that is, that's authentically portraying characters. So if you're casting someone who is autistic, then hiring an autistic actor, and that can be cover all forms of diversity because we want diversity working and representing themselves and consulting and working on all parts.
Yeah.
Of storytelling. Yeah. Hi, Grammy.
Hey.
He says hi.
Hi there. I think the series is coming out soon.
Yeah, everything's gonna be okay. It comes out next week.
Yeah. Wow, next week. That's it. Very soon.
Yeah. I've been creating a bunch of social media posts for Lillian.
Oh, that's so great.
Yeah, because they didn't do much for the co-stars, so we went out and did a photo shoot with some of the
Oh, I'm so
co-stars.
glad. I wonder why. Oh, they should have
Yeah,
done that.
she actually contacted Freeform a few times and was like, "Are we doing anything?" And then when they didn't respond or told her that she wasn't part of different things, she's like, "Well, I'm going to do one myself." And she's
Smart.
got me and then Alex Plank, another photographer with autism, and we got together and created some stuff with the co-stars.
I love that. So I can find it on.
Other autistic photographers, you know.
Amazing.
And she put it all together. It's really cool.
And it's
So
on
yeah,
Lillian's Instagram.
yeah, it's on her Instagram.
Oh, good. I'll repost that.
Yeah, and her Twitter, and there's some on her Facebook. And I'm going to be posting some behind the scene videos because someone else, one of the someone else was there, took video of everything, and sent me the footage. So I edited a few behind the scenes
That's
videos
so
of the photo
great.
shoot.
That's so great. I remember with Transparent, we did similar things about getting our own, stuff out there to help, because a lot of times they just focused on the main stars, and so it's just so smart to be proactive and allow people to get to see the other people involved in the show, even if the network doesn't do it.
Yeah, so we're trying to promote Lillian, and she's working with some other projects, so it's really cool. I can't wait till she can share everything that she's been working on.
That's great.
Yeah. So I don't know if you wanted to introduce yourself.
Sure. I can just talk about authentic casting from my experience. Being a filmmaker who's also trans, a lot of my storytelling drive was to show people I didn't see, just show stories that I didn't see out there. And so my first film, I acted in it, I made with my best friend, and we were, before I transitioned, it's gender nonconforming identity, more, masculine presenting, but going by she or he pronouns. But I wanted it to be a story about a friendship and talk about all these other things. And so that was a really good experience in terms of like changing the narrative to not be about explaining who we are, assuming that the audience needs to be explained who we are, and instead just show that we have friendships and these big dreams, or these character flaws, or things that are what everybody's stories are about. And that was good in that it got accepted to Sundance, and it got a lot of understanding for like showing a different expression of gender, but not being about that, talking about class. And then, but then when I started doing stuff, when I did Transparent was my first TV show, and that was the first time they were saying trans people should be behind the camera and in front of the camera in the writer's room. And, then I got to work on Pose, and that was another one where it centered like 5 trans women of color, and had trans women of color in the writer's room, and 2 trans women in the writer's room. And really important about centering stories, so then it can be about all these other things, fully complex stories. But then, working on Everything's Going to Be Okay, it was really exciting to work with authentic casting in terms of people being on the spectrum and talking with the different actors about what were their different experiences, because I have the luxury of not just having one person, because that's often the narrative. It's like there's only one of us. So, you can only have one kind of conversation, because everyone else, there's like multiples of them in a room. And so, we had to talk about like, well, what is this overwhelm state that this character is going through look like? And I just didn't want to make it up. I wanted to actually try and express that in a visual, so that more people could connect, because the more honest it is, the more people from outside your personal experience can have a chance to connect. So that was like really a very, very exciting thing, because I got to just use what I had developed in my own work of authentic casting. And then another show I did had authentic casting with public high school kids that were telling stories that were about their lives, but they actually came from that world, because a teaching artist created the show that Netflix made. And again, it was like a difference of having people that understand that all the details of the world, so you don't keep making the same old cliches and tropes, because people are guessing, and actually just make something that's fully real. And so, yeah, I've been just having an incredible experience of seeing that authentic casting and storytelling carry out into all different communities, not just from trans experience, but from all different aspects of underrepresented stories. Yeah.
I remember talking to you about how cool it was to see us, like people that represented ourselves like for the first time on screen, and how like for me, like I watched I always loved with autism, like we watch the same movies over and over. We have like and I know a lot of little kids do that. But so I would watch like the same 5 movies, and like going back and thinking about which ones were my favorite, they all were ones that had these really complex, strong female characters in them. They weren't always necessarily the lead, but they, and um, and then as time went on, and then I finally saw a character with autism, like of course, like those movies became my favorite, and those are the ones I watched, and I didn't realize how important it was to see yourself on screen until I did see myself, and so now I want to share those kind of stories so other people can have that experience and relate to these different characters, especially because autism is what we call a spectrum, and there's so many different stories we can tell. And then what also came out of it is that other people are now able to see very personal, private moments in a very non-invasive way, and they're able to understand my story without seeing me go through something very personal. They're able to see these characters that they love go through it. And so I'm able to have conversations with people like, oh, is this what you go through, like this character?
Right.
And that's been really, really cool as well.
It's a big deal to see yourself reflected. I think
the
first film that I made was because of that, us just not seeing ourselves anywhere. And being at an age where there was a lot of people and dying of AIDS, and so in the community you just were seeing this very high stakes and no representation, and it's a big deal. Like we just all there's something so intensely validating about seeing yourself in this larger mirror of storytelling in cinema, and it actually opens up things for other people. I feel like with Pose, I had a friend who isn't even from that world. They were married and in a relationship married with kids, and just watching that show, seeing transness in relationship to family allowed them to completely have this change. And I knew them for a long time, and I had no idea. And it's just like seeing that tipping point of connecting where you're like, oh, I don't have to deny this part, or oh, I could ask this question, is it doesn't make the world necessarily easier to be in, but it makes these moments of connection possible that maybe weren't. And sometimes humor too. I feel like when we get to tell our own stories, we get to include the humor, which is really a great way to connect with people.
I remember like the first time I was on set of EGPO, Everything's Gonna Be Okay. You were directing, and it was in the special needs classroom, and it's like something like I lived that life of being in that classroom every day for years, and like watching that, I realized there's a lot of people who've never seen what happens in that classroom. And there's like a lot of meltdowns I remember happening, a lot of like anxiety and tension and working through all that stuff. And like I remember watching the teacher dealing with like some like high stakes moment for the student, but she was like, this is like an everyday occurrence for her. So she was kind of like, okay, well, like, we'll deal with it, so used to it. And I was like, that's exactly how I remember my teacher helping me. And like, I knew she cared, but it happened so often,
Yeah.
They're used to it. And I was like, this is like, it put me right back in that moment. And like, I don't think I've ever seen this on screen before.
Yeah.
And I was, this is so cool that people who have never been part of this classroom are going to get to see it and experience it for the first time without invading like these people, like my personal life, and like walking into that classroom, and watching me do that. It felt so real. I was like, I got emotional. I'm like, this show's going to be good.
I'm so glad to hear you say that, because I know with the casting, they were again wanting to make that an authentic room, and I felt like it was an eye opener for me as well to understand and feel that was it was important that it feel accurate, because it is a way for people to understand kind of what that's like in the interaction with each other, the interaction with the teachers. And I feel like it's just, I'm glad to hear that felt true.
It did. And well, like a lot of times I see with the autism story, you see like the everyone like overreacting and trying to fix, the problem. I'm like, but this like the meltdowns and the exaggeration of feeling everything is so common that a lot of times you get more often someone going, okay, it's this, like that
Yeah.
kind of reaction. And
Right.
so I thought it was so like that subtlety just made a difference to
Yeah.
me, you know.
Yeah.
Because we're like kids are very emotional because they're
It's true.
experiencing for the first time.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
when you have autism, where like no one can relate to that, it's like
Right. It's just amplified. Yeah.
tenfold.
Yeah.
Um,
And I like the humor in that too, between, the characters, the way that they responded to each other. I just thought was
yeah.
really touching, but also, funny and yeah. Yeah.
You know? And I know Lillian was really nervous about what she could share and what like if she was going to be comfortable and all that, and like she immediately felt really comfortable. Like I saw her asking me these like so many questions. Like she told me like when she first got on set, she's like, she told someone, I don't know the social lingo, and like, so can you help me like
Yeah.
what I don't know what I'm supposed to do, like. And I remember she asked social etiquette about the dressing rooms, like, do we need love? Do we need to like? And like everyone like just answered all of her questions, like, and yeah, she felt really comfortable, which was really cool.
Yeah, she was a big part of the role that she ended up.
Hmm.
Wasn't she supposed to? She was almost cast for.
Yeah, she auditioned for Matilda,
Yeah.
and it was her and Kayla um, up for that role at the end.
Yeah. Very
Um,
close though. That's why they added the role.
yeah,
Yeah. And I think parts of her experience were folded into that. And I know when I was doing the part where Matilda goes to New York and has the sort of overwhelm, I really wanted to make sure that was portrayed accurately so that it was so that everybody could have an understand, be invited to see what it felt like for her. And Lillian was really helpful with sending me some links and talking about like what are some of the things sound wise, or for everyone it's different, but for this expression of it, it was, she and I had a bunch of great conversations, and she came on set when we were filming it, and it was really helpful.
yeah. Adam was on a couple weeks ago, and like when I was talking to him, there's like so many memories that popped up of someone calling Lillian, if it was like one of the writers or one of the directors, and like she got calls like at midnight and 2 in the morning. It was like so willing to like help people.
I didn't call it 2 in the morning.
No, you did it, but other people, and she would like had these conversations, and she would come to me like, Chloe, I have a question about this because I know you experience this more, and she would just sit and talk to them or text them,
I just lost
and
Uh-oh.
yeah, so I can't wait to share some of those stories. Um, can you hear me? I'm still here. um,
What happened?
I still see you and hear you. Yeah, if you guys have any questions for us, please leave them. We love answering your questions. Let's see if I can chat with him.
I can't see. I lost picture. I lost picture.
Yeah, so I can't wait to share those stories with you guys in the future. I don't want to spoil anything. If you haven't seen the chat with Adam, he's going to be on the show as well. So we're excited um, for that. So go check out the live stream I did with him. Hi, Sonia. Thank you for tuning in. Silas, for some reason, can't see or hear me. We were chatting before. Um, he lost my picture and sound. Um,
I can't see or hear you. I don't know what happened. I'm gonna try to refresh my.
He's gonna log back in, log out, log back in, see if that works. Yeah, so we'll see him in a second. All right, can you?
Now we're back. I don't
Yeah.
know.
We lost connection for a second. But yeah, I was saying that I have so many stories about things that happen in the show that like actually happen to us that I
Yeah.
can't wait to share
Yeah.
when the show comes out. So
Yeah.
like they're like the overall story is real, but there's like little moments that happen that are based on like a lot of the actors, not
Yeah.
just Lillian.
Yeah.
It's something I think I can share. She has Crohn's, and they added that
Yeah.
to her character.
Yeah. That's a big deal. My dad had that, and it was like early on, and so there wasn't much talk about it, and so it was always this kind of untalked about
Mhm.
thing. And then much later in life, I heard it talked about more, and it really helped me understand
Mhm.
what was going on. And again, it's like the lack of conversation makes people feel so
Yeah,
disconnected.
and it affects a lot of things. Like it affects what she wears. Like I know a lot of people with like IBS have like very similar things where like they can't wear things that are too tight around the stomach. It's
Right.
like a lot of dresses are and tights are, and so like when she wants to like be feminine, she's like I can't wear like those fitted
Yeah.
outfits, and I
Yeah.
wish I could, you know.
Yeah.
But it makes her, it really hurts her stomach and makes that acid reflux
Yeah. Yeah.
happen. So I know that that affects a lot of people. And so like there's stuff like that that is talked about that you I don't think there's been conversations like that a lot
No.
on television. So it's really exciting.
It is. No, it's so incredible to see these new approaches, and like different people have access to story. It's like they might be familiar stories, but they're new storytellers. So we're getting to have like these new voices taking us on these journeys, which is really it's an exciting thing for everybody. You know.
Yeah, if you guys have any questions, we'd love to answer them. Um, Haley has some questions about filmmaking. She's like, what is filmmaking like? Is it hard?
It can
um,
get pretty boring, oddly enough, but you start to make like a little summer camp theater kind of community because you spend all these hours together.
mm-hmm.
But the like repetition, whenever I would have my students visit me on set, I'm like, be prepared. It can be really like you're watching the same thing over and over again, and then it's from different sides, so it's like tedious at times. But I find it exciting to build these worlds.
Mm-hmm. I know a lot of people don't like pre-production, but I love that part of it, of like seeing everything go from a concept to reality, where you get to like pick all these different small bits that will create this whole world
Yeah.
in pre-production. That's like that's really fun for me. I know a lot of people don't like that
Yeah.
part of it.
Yeah, it's like building a house or something. You
Yeah.
have raw materials, and you have to have a vision of what it is going to look like. And yeah, I think that's very exciting, and it makes you think about the way you are in
Yeah.
the world, and way people are with each other.
Yeah, when like I'm talking about like the costumes that we might have, like what would this character wear, and really gets you into the character's head when you start making those decisions before you get on set, and then it's like overwhelming of like, oh my god, what would this character do?
I know, it's true. Yeah, I like it because you have to think, or think about everything and every little detail.
Mm-hmm.
You get to care about everything, which I think is a nice goal in life, to like
Mm-hmm.
that everything matters, and could be an expression or something that adds, something to the character that's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, especially when like I'm thinking about all those details. It's like also fun to like put little Easter eggs. Like when I was making my student films, I would be making like these posters or pictures I would put up like in the bedroom of a character or something, and I would use like pictures of like my cousins or the people I know and see if they noticed it when they watched the video.
That's yeah. No, I think even props that like have meaning to people on set or like sometimes add.
Yeah, like I had a character that like was talking about like a crush they had, and I had like little pictures of like my cousin with like, and I drew like little hearts around it, and he didn't even notice it was him when he watched the video. And I gave him the prompt. He's like, "What is this from?" I'm like, "Did you watch the video?" "Yeah, I did." Like, you were the crush.
That's so great.
I made a video about my grandpa when he passed away, and I put actual. I made these like inspirational posters up in the background of like different movies, like fake movies, and they were all pictures of him from different ages. And like, so I've done like different things like that like just add a little bit more meaning for me. And so like that kind of stuff is fun.
Yeah, it is. Well, you're building a world, so it's like, when you work in a there's like the art department, everybody's like putting all their energy into what each thing looks like with everything's going to be okay. There were all this like, he's a entomologist, so there's all these bugs and tarantulas and like it's just like all these weird specific worlds you get to build.
Yeah, I remember when they were making Matilda's room. They wanted it messy, and like I'm really messy with things. And so I remember Lillian talking to me about like that, and she's like, "Is it okay if I tell them some of the stuff that you had in your room?" Because she didn't want to embarrass me. I'm like, "Yeah, it's fine." Yeah, sometimes she forgot she had food in there. There'd be like moldy food, and like and she like talked about all the stuff I did, and they use that to help build Matilda's room. And so I was really curious to go in there and actually see what they used. I was like, it's pretty. It looked a lot like my room. Obviously, like a film version that like it's messy but still looks not appealing.
Right, all the colors match.
Yeah.
What do you think of that little room, like the little inset room where she had a seated area? Do you remember that?
Oh yeah.
Cool.
I remember Lillian had this like corner desk that when we were little, we like put a bunch of pillows under there and like draped a sheet over it, and like we made it our little clubhouse in there.
That's amazing.
And like hid in there for like a summer.
I love
and like we always did stuff like that, like and so like that area reminded me of that, where you could like close yourself off in there, and like close off all the sensory of the world. That kind of thing. I remember I had a chandelier in my room, and I hung a bunch of little trinkets from it, and I would lay on the floor and stare at that.
That's amazing.
So yeah, so when I walked in there, I was like, yes, this is my childhood room. I very much appreciated that. Obviously, there's a lot of different interests than me.
But I think
it was cool.
Yeah, to see the room, because I remember in my first feature, we built these. Well, like we didn't build the house, but we dressed the apartment where the main character stays, and they're a little like OCD and dealing with different issues, and they were also gender nonconforming, all these other things. But it was just about being, like a spirit that a lot of the world wasn't able to deal with. But for so many people, there was something like familiar about this way that the home was decorated, and kind of a self-expression, or like how the ways that you feel comfortable. And I think that's such a big part of it, And the writers on TV, they're always drawing from their personal experiences, which is why having different writers in the room is really important. And it sounded like they had Lillian and UB kind of help support the writers' details, because that's the specificity that makes, again, people from all different experiences connect. It's like, how do you comfort yourself? How do you how do you deal with disappointment? So these are all just human experiences that, we get to see from a different perspective. But
Yeah, so I can't wait for y'all to see it. Like there was so much care put into the show. And I can't wait for you guys to see it and fall in love with it the way that we all have fallen in love with it. It's an important story to so many different people.
yeah,
It's really cool.
yeah, yeah. I'm excited. Yeah. I think it's next week. Yeah. So I think they're doing some events around it, but I'm really excited to just get to tune in and see, how it all comes together.
Yes,
Are you guys having a?
I think in San Francisco they're doing a screening.
Oh,
I forget when. So if you guys want to see it before Thursday, they're doing a Q&A in San Francisco, I believe. I don't know any more details than that, but I'm sure you can find it if you search. So if you live in that area,
and I think there's a Facebook live event for it too on
oh,
the 15th or the 16th. I'll find out and send you the info.
and I know all the cast is live tweeting the premiere.
Oh yeah.
So if you follow them all on Twitter. Um, yeah, so I think they're live tweeting for the East Coast time. So if you're on the West Coast and you don't want spoilers, then wait. uh, yeah, so it's so excited.
Yeah. Well, I'm so excited that you were able to set up another date to do this. I was really looking forward to talking about it. I'm so passionate about the show and about getting to work with authentic casting everywhere, and I feel like the TV's finally understanding that and like how valuable it. All of us have been watching stories that are not about us and connecting just because of the storytelling, and so that means the reverse is true. Everyone gets to do the same. With it feels like people really want to see different stories and real stories that get to be messy and funny and honest.
And it's a comedy, so there's a lot. It's funny.
It's funny. Oh my god, it's so funny. That was my other favorite thing. I was like, not only like great casting, authentic casting, but the comedy for everybody in the show is just incredible. Yeah, I'm excited for people to see that.
Yeah, it's gonna be good. And I love that like the teenagers like overreacting to everything. I think that can be funny.
Yeah.
But there's also like real events too that are happening.
Very, very important conversations around Matilda. There's some really interesting I've never seen on TV before.
So like people forget like those of us with autism also have been teenagers. So you're dealing with autism and the teenage life and like trying to navigate that. And that's really cool that we created this whole character for the show because like one of the problems I've had is the story is just around autism and not like we're also living the life everyone else is living. So we have this character that really cares about the high school and the teenage world and all of that. And so it's so whole, like everything feels complete about it.
Yeah. No, it's well put.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Autism will be hosting a viewing party in February for BGBO. Yeah, that's in the works right now.
Great.
Yeah. But, check out our calendar for when that appears. Because my mom probably posting that. Yeah. Anyone have any questions? Please, leave them. I love when we interact with you guys. And Haley, thanks for all your comments.
Well, I'm excited. I might have to get rest soon just because I was up at 4:30 in the morning for the show that I'm on now. But
yeah, that's one of the tough things about filming is the hours.
oh, it's so rough. Yeah, and we're filming outside, and it's winter here, but it was okay. It went really well. And but yeah, I have to film the rest of the week. I go to San Francisco tomorrow too. But I'm so excited about this show, and again, like you said, it's the whole story. It's like she's a teenager. She's dealing, there's just some really great moments where she just straight up asks, "Is this because of autism? Is this because I'm a teenager? Is this because I'm female?" And her half brother's like, "It's kind of everything, like it's this, it's overwhelming at times in life to deal with all the number of things that we each have to deal with, and I just think it's the humor that it captures is pretty spectacular."
Oh, we got a question.
Oh, not always. I always wanted to tell stories because oops, hold on. There we go. I've always wanted to tell stories because I guess it was how I could understand myself in the world. So if I could, make a story happen, I could maybe make someone laugh or get their attention. And then I've often been obsessed with the difference between being looked at or being seen. So as someone who didn't fit in at certain points in my life, I felt looked at a lot. And then when I met someone who understood me, was kind of like me, I felt seen. And then the difference was like I felt much more invincible once I felt seen. And so directing became a lot about telling stories where we could see ourselves reflected and to kind of, laugh together, cry together, all that. But yeah, I didn't know quite how much work it would be. But now I can't stop. I love it.
Yeah, it's a lot.
It is a lot.
Yeah, I remember in like my film classes, like even starting in high school, people would like take the film class and it'd be like an easy grade, and they're like, "Whoa, this is so much work."
It's a
And in
it,
college, like after that first semester, so many people dropped out because it's a lot.
it is. It's so many hours. People just don't know because it takes so much to get everyone together that you gotta get everything that you need. And yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and for me, because I've been doing film since middle school, I always try to watch the credits of a movie. And, like, there's so many people that work on it. And to me, it's like when you go to a play, you watch them take their bow, right? It's respect. And so when I see a movie at the theaters, I try to watch all the credits. And like people get annoyed at me because like, let's leave. Why are we sitting here? They won't know. I'm like, but I will know. And
That's
I'm movies.
No, you're a true filmmaker because I think those are the people that really like would look at
Yeah.
that and see all those departments. And I work with teams on shows that are huge compared to my own independent work. And just this show has like 1850s costuming and horses and carriage and all the work that goes into the hair and the makeup and coordinating the horses. We had a stunt woman with a horse, and it's like incredible talent just at all those levels. That yeah. Yeah.
Um, and then we have in EGBO another part of the story is the LGBTQ story,
Yes.
which is also authentic casted.
Love that. I love that so much.
Yeah, and I'm am asexual, and so I've been recently because I wrote a lot of autistic characters for my short films, and recently I've been trying to come up with more ace characters because I haven't done that, and I haven't seen a lot of ace characters on film.
Yeah.
And so I've loved we had Adam on a few weeks ago, and so it was fun talking to Adam about his experience now doing a couple roles where he's authentically playing these characters that he relates to way more.
Yeah.
and he used to be playing because he is part of that community.
Yeah. Yeah. It just like gives people permission to be themselves more when they don't feel
Yeah.
like they're the only ones, you know. And did you ever know the show Faking It?
Yeah.
Because they had intersex character, but they also had an asexual storyline
Mhm.
to you know, deal with, to look at all these different, you know, different aspects of being
Mhm.
a teenager, and with humor and kind of, you know, a lot of good consulting the shows and authentic casting when they were able to. But yeah, again, it's just like, oops, and I just think that I find that it's like, hold on, when yeah, again, when people do it from the inside, there's more humor to it. I think when people do it from outside, they get more all about the trauma, the difficulty, but they forget that anybody who's been through difficult times has a sense of humor because they have to. You sort of like observe that life's a bit absurd, and you know, people react in certain ways more quickly than people who fit in easier have to deal with. So, um,
Um, and then being ace is such a stereotype in the autism community.
oh yeah,
Having like working in the autism community for so long, I've only met two other people on the spectrum who are ace.
yeah,
I've met so many more who are um, bisexual, pansexual, like very
yeah, yeah,
into it. You know, yeah. So like there's a huge LGBTQ community in the autism community, which is
yeah,
crazy.
yeah,
Um, we don't know why. If we're just um, for us, like um, a lot of things um, that the social norms of like everything, we
yeah,
just never had that.
yeah,
So when it comes to gender, it comes to love and romance and all, like, and sexuality, there's never been like those unspoken rules, because they're unspoken. They
yeah,
never spoken because we're so
yeah.
little.
That's so
So
interesting.
so I don't know if it's because of that, or it's just like it's just huge in the autism community, and so it's cool to see um the those stories combined.
Yeah, I
um,
love that storyline so much, and
yeah.
yeah, it's interesting what you say about what the, you know, the sort of social, like I think what younger generations are showing more and more is that when there's less, the more awareness that it's a construct, you know, that it's a choice, and that people
Mhm.
don't have to like define you if you do one or the other, and so then people tend to just be more open. It makes a
Yeah,
difference.
yeah. I remember when I was little, I had friends outside my gender. I had friends outside my age. I had like, I was just like, that person's cool. I want them to be my friend, whether they were an adult, whether they were younger, whether they were,
Yeah,
a guy or a girl, and like, um, people started making these cliques, and I never did that.
yeah,
um, and so people are like, oh, even my parents were like, you can't be friends with that person. They're way too old for you, or they're not in your grade, or they don't go to your school,
yeah,
whatever it was. And I'm like, I don't understand why that's a rule. And so I can see how that can happen romantically, or like, exploring gender. I know, like my sister, Lillian, understood the social rules of guys more, so she liked hanging out with them more. Where,
right,
like,
right.
especially in elementary school, like if someone wrongs you, she would just like punch them and be like, "Okay." She's just like, "That's wrong," and then the guys would be like, "Okay, you can play." Where if you did that to a girl, they'd be like, "Nope, you can never play with us again."
Yeah, because that's taught at a very early age, you know, that, you know, like immediately how toys are divided, how Halloween
Yeah,
costumes are. It's like
yeah.
set in very early.
I remember, like, one of our favorite shows was Power Rangers, and we would invite a friend over with a girl and be like, "You want to play Power Rangers with us?" No, that's a boy show.
Yeah.
We're like, what?
Rules. So many rules. It's all about rules. Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
and like it never even crossed our mind that there were things for boys, that there were things for different ages, all those kind of things. And so like I when I got older, I was like, wait, really? There were all these rules I never knew about, never followed.
That's so great. It's really, yeah. And I know, I think that's what people learn. Like kids start out very open, fluid, whatever, and they learn, oh, this is right, this is wrong. And in my feature, it talks a lot about that with looking at a kid who's like 4, who's just a little boy who likes to wear dresses and feels like a princess. And it's like more about the adults. So you hardly even really like focus on the kid because they're 4 and they're fine. But all the world around them is starting to make decisions about this, which seem very straightforward but become complicated, and our actual little actor was going through that because he would go to school dressed in dresses and his parents were very supportive, but the principal called Child Protection Services because he was going by he but expressing feminine, and they were like, well, if he just goes by she and matches the gender expression, and they're like, well, he's 4, and I'm sure that may change, and they may go by they or she. But right now, we're just saying this is okay,
Yeah.
And but just that the police were called shows how freaked out people still get about breaking the rules.
Yeah, my parents were called about social services because I wasn't at school enough or was acting strange. I don't know. They didn't tell me till I was much older, obviously, but they were threatened with that because I was autistic. So like people just don't understand things that aren't the norm.
Yeah.
So and it's scary to get those letters when you think you're doing the right thing. And then they questioned it, and I know they questioned it because I could feel it. Like they started making rules I didn't understand,
Yeah.
because they were like, well, maybe if this many people are really worried about my kid, maybe we're not doing the right thing,
Makes you question, yeah.
So it's nice to have these stories out there so that people don't call social services when they don't need to.
Yeah, exactly. I know.
It's crazy that happened.
Yeah, it was. I was surprised that because I wanted a kid that actually felt that way. I wanted authentic casting, so I was like, because they don't have to carry the whole movie, they can just be happy to be in a dress and be very excited about that, and we'll know why we're making this movie. And then it actually was more supportive because the movie helped the parents sort of set into place services to help educate teachers around different ways of expressing kids expressing themselves and not making it a negative thing or something like that, the police.
I remember hating dresses for a while because I live in California and they don't make dresses with sleeves. So I like being covered sensory wise so that I don't skin on skin contact and I don't like a lot of different textures and touches, and dresses didn't have sleeves and dresses didn't have they didn't have long dresses for me. And so when I was little, I would like refuse to wear a nice dress out, and so I to like dinner, like I don't like dressing fancy. I don't like and then I don't know why it took so long to realize I can wear a shirt under my dress. I can wear pants under my dress. I can wear tights. I don't know why that took so long, but I remember in middle school being like, I'm not wearing a dress. Like I dressed very tomboy, but not because like I wanted to be masculine, but I wanted to wear sweats because they were comfortable for me sensory wise.
Yeah.
And people like didn't, and I didn't know how to explain it, and people questioned me in weird ways. And so I just told everyone it was cold because then they would stop questioning me. And people wear and sweats when it's like 80 degrees out, and they're like,
I know.
I'm cold.
It's like the wrong questions that they're asking, Like it's really That's amazing.
Where now I like wear dresses all the time, and people are like, you're not the same person. I'm like, I am. I
love
just
that.
I always loved the way dresses looked, and I just didn't like that they didn't have sleeves.
I mean, that's a lot of fashion, is just people finding something that just feels right to
Yeah.
them. That's why new sort of looks and trends evolve. Um, so yeah, um, I probably have to get myself a little bit
Yeah.
of a rest. I know it's a little shorter than we talked about, but
That's fine. We almost reached the hour. Yeah, let's start wrapping up. Thank you guys for watching. Haley, thank you for
thank you, everybody.
questions.
Any last ones is fine. Yeah, and I'll send
Thank
you the
you
link.
guys for joining.
I'll send you the link to any of the everything's gonna be okay things that I've heard of that you might already know, but just in case that you haven't. And send me some of your films so I can see
Yeah.
any
Okay.
that yeah, I would love that.
Um, yeah, so check out our website, artistic.com, and our calendar for all of our cool events. I mentioned at the beginning of the live stream. Come back next week. I do a live stream every Wednesday at 7. I don't recall who my guest is. I think I'm still in talks with somebody about who it is next week to come back. um, yeah. Do you have any final parting words or message for everyone, Silas?
Oh, just that it's I'm so honored that I get to talk with you and all the work that you're doing, and I think that the conversation and the casting and your participation in the show is really crucial. I think your voice is really crucial, and so I think anyone out there with a point.
All right. Stay colorful, everyone. Bye.